When there are such small margins in terms of hardware this generation, your console either lives or dies by its exclusive games, those that could shift units perhaps all on their own. The PlayStation 4 is the runaway winner of this generation for this exact reason. Sony have worked hard to release amazing original games that you can't find anywhere else, while Microsoft, well, has Mixer and avatars. The PlayStation 4 has had quite the solid array of exclusive games released this year, which is putting it lightly when God of War and Marvel's Spider-Man have already delivered in a big way, which means that it shouldn't surprise anyone to see where they land on this list of the best PS4 exclusives. So here are the best PlayStation 4 exclusives that you can't find anywhere else. This means it can't be on Xbox One, PC, or even the Switch. Heck, no other PS system for that matter. This rules out Persona 5 and Yakuza 6, the former is also on PS3 and it looks like the latter is coming to PC. Remasters are also excluded for the sake of variety. The Last of Us Remastered would be the runaway winner otherwise. Remakes are all good however. We're also avoiding talking about the best PSVR games just to spice things up a little. Let us know what you think of our list in the comments section below, but please keep your comments about my voice to a minimum. I know that I'm a sad boy. Number 10. The Last Guardian. When The Last Guardian was first announced back in what feels like 1882, it caused quite the buzz as the new game from Team Ico, the geniuses behind Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. Originally set to release on PS3, things were looking promising, as if the Japanese developers had struck gold again. And then nothing was heard for years. It looked dead in the water until a surprise reveal at E3 2015 showed that it was alive and well, and quite different from the early first impressions we had. It looked like it belonged in this new generation, but how did it play? Well, it was almost worth the long wait, even if Trico was a bit of a dickhead at times. Some of its mechanics are frustrating and your companion's AI often lacking, but if you can deal with some of its antiquated aspects, there's a beautiful story of a boy and his bird dog waiting for you to weep over, as well as the unique gameplay that only Team Ico know how to create. 9. Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. A spin-off in a series that we're going to see again later on in this list, The Lost Legacy proved that Naughty Dog don't cut any corners. Despite the reduced price, this is every inch the cinematic spectacle we've come to expect from the minds behind Uncharted and the peerless The Last of Us. Switching protagonists for the first time in series history, The Lost Legacy sees you take the role of Chloe Frazier with Nadine Ross providing backup. It was a gamble to make it quasi-open world, but one that certainly works in its favour, offering a sumptuously dense playground with more puzzles than you can shake your head at in frustration without getting whiplash. If this is an indication of where the series goes from here, the future looks bright indeed. Number 8. Until Dawn. Its detractors might say that it isn't much of a game, but don't listen to them. Until Dawn is one of the greatest horror games ever made, and easily the best you can find on PlayStation 4. An engaging storyline and trope-poking script make this an essential. Gameplay is basic, which might dissuade some people, but it actually aids your investment in what's going on in Supermassive Games' intricate, insular world. If you're ever in the mood for a horror game that can tell as good a story as it can make you revert to the fetal position, Until Dawn should certainly be at the top of your list. 7. Detroit: Become Human. If you're not a fan of David Cage's storytelling, Detroit: Become Human may not make a convert of you, but it's a definite upgrade on what's come before it. It still has some preachy undertones, though the threads running through Detroit are worth spending time with. In the near future, androids are viewed as second-class citizens despite them being more human than most people. Detroit certainly doesn't mince its words and is confrontational, dealing in themes of classism and racism, and sees you playing as 3 different androids and the mysteries and dramas surrounding them. As a small bonus, it's also one of the most stunning games you're likely to play this generation. Number 6. Shadow of the Colossus. Previously given a small lick of paint as a remaster on PS3, Shadow of the Colossus finally received the full makeover it deserves with its remake for the PS4. Bluepoint, who previously worked on the Uncharted remasters for the same platform, paid a lot of respect to the source material and didn't deviate too far away from what made the original such a classic. However, while trying to bridge a gap between old players looking for a nostalgia buzz and new players who had never had the pleasure of guiltily stabbing wondrous creatures in the brain, it did carry over a lot of the, design quirks. Regardless, Shadow of the Colossus may not be 2018's biggest PS4 exclusive, but its grandeur and heartbreaking themes haven't lost any of their sheen. Number 5. Bloodborne. From Software know how to create grueling masterpieces, and Bloodborne is certainly no exception. Separate from the Dark Souls games with the same unmistakable formula of trial, error and reward, Bloodborne is simply one of the best exclusive PS4 games there is. A nightmarish Yharnam is yours to explore and be killed in, lots and lots, with it having a fascinating story to uncover behind its walls, nooks and crannies. The uninitiated might struggle with the insane difficulty spikes and unconventional combat, but once Bloodborne has you, it refuses to let go. Even when you're visiting the same bonfire for what seems like the 100th time after yet another death, it's irresistible and euphoric once you finally make some progress. If you were a PlayStation 4 owner and don't have Bloodborne, I am reporting you for console negligence and abuse. Number 4. Horizon Zero Dawn. Coming out against Breath of the Wild meant that Horizon Zero Dawn would always have a fight on its hands as comparisons were inevitably going to be made. Despite being the first in a new series, Zero Dawn more than confidently stands its own against the latest adventures of Link, with the wider console adoption helping it to a sales victory. An amalgamation of all your favourite open world games with enough personality to make it its own thing, Zero Dawn is an absolute delight. How you approach these fascinating and sometimes jaw-dropping beasts is up to you. The game is suited well to role-playing. Guerrilla Games recovered well from the relative disappointment of Shadowfall to deliver an enthralling experience that must go down as one of the PS4's best. Number 3. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. We all knew this would place highly, and rightly so. Uncharted 4 is the visual equivalent of a Bob Ross painting and will likely stand the test of time for the next couple of generations. However, Uncharted 4 is more than just nice to look at, even if its cinematic scenes are dripping with loveliness. The set pieces are jaw-dropping, the narrative compelling, and Nathan Drake's dad jokes just as awful. It's a worthwhile conclusion to gaming's most affable mass murderer, a heartfelt sayonara that shows just how much Naughty Dog want to push the technical limits of the PlayStation 4. Plus, swinging from vines might remind you of this next game. Number 2. Marvel's Spider-Man. Marvel's Spider-Man feels like a throwback in the best ways. Packed with content not locked behind a paywall, players can earn upgrades through just playing the game, which itself is a remarkable thing. We can stop looking back on Spider-Man 2 as the pinnacle of the Spidey adaptions. With an attention to detail that is second to none and a refreshing hybrid of ideas old and new, it's quite simply the best superhero game ever released. There's so much to see and do in Marvel's Spider-Man long past the point of its story wrapping up, including just swinging around for hours and appreciating just how damn great it feels. Number 1. God of War. God of War has changed, and so has its protagonist, and all for the better too. Kratos' debut on the PS4 was a long wait, but boy, was it worth it. It feels like the culmination of the series, the zenith of multiple games in the beloved franchise, and the biggest example of why drastic changes aren't always something to be worried about. You get the sense that God of War is squeezing every drop of power out of the PS4. It's almost staggering what the guys at Santa Monica were capable of with hardware that is pushing half a decade in age. It all takes place in one glorious shot, a movie of redemption that you are front and center for. With combat that evolves as the game progresses, stunning spectacles, and a feel of final polish that is missing from so many big games, God of War is the best PS4 exclusive there is. But it could also just prove to be the game of its generation. There are two things in this life that I know to be certain. The first is that at Club Tropicana the drinks are free, and second is that cultured vultures like us just love your attention. So if you've enjoyed the video today, please consider smashing that like button with your subscribe beaks to join us in the vulture nest for more listicles, news, reviews and articles soon, both here on culturedvultures.com and right here on the Cultured Vultures YouTube page. Caw.